Oh man, I wish the FIA would do something to make F1 a wee bit more interesting. Oh wait, my phone's ringing again. I'm quite a popular guy, you see. 1 second. Yeah, what's up?
Yo, Mano, did you hear the news? They're adding sprint races, mate.
What do you mean, Moto? I'm pretty sure Formula 2 already has them, don't they?
No, you dingus. They might be added to Formula 1 as well.
Seriously? Now this is worth watching.
The FIA have introduced many interesting gimmicks into the F1 Championship in order to spice up the battles, such as a point awarded for getting the fastest lap in a race. However, recent plans could indicate that it isn't just points that have gotten a change, but also the entire race structure itself. The talk regarding sprint races has been going on for nearly a month, which presumably shows that it could well be introduced into the F1 Grand Prix schedule. What is a sprint race, I hear you say? Well, not to worry. In Formula 2, for example, a sprint race is essentially a race shorter than the main race, hosted on a Grand Prix weekend. There is no mandatory pit stop, and the top 8's grid positions are reversed from the results of the feature race, so Formula 2 sprint races usually consist of close action-packed racing. Now, for the 2021 season, F1 wants to trial 3 shorter from Saturday sprint races in 2021, believed to be at Montreal, Monza and Interlagos. Reduced points would be on offer, and the results of the Saturday event would set the grid for Sunday's main traditional Grand Prix. That means qualifying would move to Friday in place of practice 2, with the events of quali setting the starting order for Saturday's sprint race. This would mean that there would be 2 races hosted at these particular venues, meaning more points up for grabs from each Grand Prix, and effectively much more opportunity for drivers to fight in the championship should they mess up in a few of the starting rounds. Now, that does sound pretty intense. Imagine having 2 race winners in one Grand Prix weekend. That would certainly blow my mind. Originally, the idea of sprint races in F1 seemed ludicrous, as F1, since its beginning, only had 1 race during Grand Prix weekend. In both 2019 and 2020, the idea of reverse grid races where the championship order would have been reversed for the starting grid was already discussed by the sports stakeholders.
However, this particular innovation never gained enough positive feedback by the teams on either proposal. One of these teams, of course, being Mercedes, who had said to the media, and I quote, "The sport should not be looking at artificial means of increasing excitement levels and unpredictability at the pinnacle of motor racing. It is Mercedes after all, so anything that can threaten their dominance is always going to be an idea that they're not particularly fond of." However, after frantically rushing through different ideas to make the title fight a little bit more interesting, sprint races seem to be one of the few things left to try out. The only difference from last year's proposal is that the starting order would be set out by the performance results of qualifying rather than reversing the grid. However, there are still some walls that must be broken down in order to see this idea fully come to fruition. Further discussions between teams, the FIA and Formula 1 as a whole are taking place in the forthcoming weeks, with sporting directors inevitably likely to be combing over the fine details and potential pitfalls, especially in a season where a budget cap is in place for the first time. The importance of spare parts for damaged repairs is likely to be on the table, along with the more philosophical question of whether these 2 races would have 2 respective race winners. Now, our favourite boy, newly at McLaren, Danny Ricciardo, made a very good point about these sprint races, and he stated that, and I quote, "Competition is what I love most, and I would love to do more races and less practice. I'm saying that it kind of does go towards what I want, but the biggest thing is I'd still want an F1 win to still feel as big as what it should be. I don't even want an F1 win to feel diluted or somewhat lower than it should." So, there's obviously many questions around this topic, but very few answers at the moment, at least until late March, when the FIA finally get out of their beds and reveal their plans for F1 to the world. But what do you think about these planned sprint races? Are you in favour of having them, or do you completely hate the sound of them entirely? Be sure to let us know down in the comments below. But otherwise, thank you very much for having me on the Camber F1 channel. I'll see you guys very soon.
A huge thanks to Moto Meerkat for joining us on this video. I had an absolute blast planning and preparing this video, and I'm pretty sure he did as well. If you'd like to see some of his content, then make sure to check the link in the description below for his channel, or hit that info card that's appearing on your screen right now. If you'd like to support our journey to 1,000 subscribers, pretty simple, just hit the red button. There's also a Discord server that you can join where you can talk to me and Swinners and Callum and everyone in the Canberra F1 community, so definitely don't miss out on the opportunity. We'll see you in the next one.